Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. Empowering professionals to layoff proof your life and live free. A career and financial resilience expert, no other than Miss Pav Lertjitbanjong. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Pav, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes. Hi, Daniel, and thank you so much for having me. Yeah, super excited to be here. So, I am the founder of Layoff Ready. It's a platform that helps high achieving professionals build income security and freedom before layoff or burnout or any crisis or life forces your hand too, right? So basically, I started. This work after I walked away from my 300K corporate job and retired from corporate at 43, not because not because life forced me to, but like it was because I could. And like the ability to to have like that freedom to choose your own path, I think that's now what I call true wealth. But before you think that, oh, she got a trust fund or a sugar daddy or I don't have any of those. So far from it. So like in fact, a few years ago, I walked away from my marriage with just my two pet rabbits and barely anything, and totally like my life was shattered, and I had to rebuild from the ground up. So hopefully, my story will help be inspiration to someone going through a similar journey. Yeah.
What was the final straw that pushed you to walk away from a 300K salary?
Oh my gosh, Daniel. So without stealing the thunder for the book that we're gonna be talking about is actually pretty related. So I think the moment that cracked me open, there were several actually, but the most recent one was when I read this book, Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. You know, on my way to my grandma's funeral, too late to say goodbye because I was just too busy working on PowerPoint presentations that I don't even know what this about. But what I know though is that slide 37, that was what I was working on, to be exact. And this book didn't just speak to me, but it was like a big call out to me that like it you haven't been living the life. Like it helped name the quiet plan that I have lived through for so many years, 23 years in corporate to be exact, that success without presence is you know kind of poverty in itself. So yes, it's been many years in the making.
Miss Pav Lertjitbanjong. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And how did you shift from equating job stability with safety to viewing financially autonomy as true security?
Yeah. So, okay. Since I talk about this book by Bill Perkins, if some of you guys already know him, he's very famous hedge fund manager. So I didn't have that hedge fund career like Bill. I didn't have like tens of millions of dollars. I only just got like 300K corporate job. It's comfortable enough to keep you trapped in the cycle of the rat race, right? But it's not like life changing that I could just like go out tomorrow and buy a private jet, you know. And yes, I still felt stuck at the time. So basically, what I did was I built a path to find a way for me, like what are things for me to do to get out of this rat race. And for me, there were two things. One is through investing, and then because I got an MBA in finance, so I've learned, a little bit of that from through my courses. And then the second one was through the side hustle that I have built over time. So yeah, so honestly, I built the path that made sense. Not just for me though, but I would say like for the rest of us, the normal people, because if your job security is an illusion. So if you only have just one stream of income, basically with AI rising and like all different news, like say about layoffs or burnout, basically it's just a matter of time that that will be taken away from you. So that's what I realized, I think, like so late in life. And I started like as soon as I realized that, I started to build my backup plan, my system for my own security.
Very well said, Miss Pav. Beautifully articulated. And congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
emphasize retiring early without sacrifice. What luxuries or comforts did you keep that skeptics assume you'd forfeit?
So are you saying that like what are my so what are things that I still like that brings me joy that I still keep, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, number one, I am a matcha addict. So, if I don't know about you, Daniel, but like I love matcha, all kinds. So that's what I need to have every day. So that's one thing. But then I think like the second thing is like traveling and time spent with family, and this is like part of like the whole fire movement and what I instill in like my audience on layoff ready is that yes, you can retire early. There are different types of retirement. It doesn't have to just be like an in all be all that, oh, so when you retire, it means that you just do nothing and just sit at home all day or just lay on a beach. There are different types of fire. So for me, what I did was I have my business on the side. After I left my job, I set up layoff ready, and also, have a stream of income through like dividend, through my investing, to be able to like sustain myself, that I could fund all these like some luxury trips, and so on and so forth, so that I wouldn't have to like you said, sacrifice what brings me joy. Besides that, I also downsized a big part of my life, like say for example, before at the time before I quit my job, I live in like a 3 bedroom home, like all by myself. Like, what's the point of just like sitting, in like in this big house with nobody's there? So what I did was I sold my house, I sold my car, I moved cross. I wouldn't say cross country, but I moved like to a different state where the cost of living is significantly cheaper. At the time, I used to live in New Jersey, New York area, and now I moved to Minnesota, which is significantly, you know, lower in cost, but I would say like better in terms of life quality.
How do you calculate your retirement number while ensuring inflation, pandemics, or wouldn't derail it?
Yeah, so I would say there are three numbers that I typically would just like tell people, like you need to know these three numbers in order to get to the ultimate number, which is your fire number. That's the financial independence retire early number. So the first number that you need to know is your um, net worth. And Daniel, embarrassingly, I will admit that I did not know my net worth until I turned maybe like 38, 39 years old, just right before I got divorced. So so let me tell you this, and it like it's actually pretty common, especially amongst high achievers, that we don't really know all these basic numbers, like what's your net worth, how much monthly expenses you have, because basically you're so good at doing your corporate job that you don't have time to tend to your own personal finance. And then, we all rely on our, like, experts like CPA, financial advisors, but when in fact that, like, something personal like net worth should be something that, I think like everybody should be able to, calculate that, or know off top of their head. So that's number one. So net worth is asset minus liabilities. And then the second number, that is so important, is I call it FU fund. Some people, when they think about FU fund, they think about, like the amount of money that you can just like walk away from any situation. Could be like a bad relationship, toxic job, or anything, right? With integrity, there are different types of FU fund, but for me, my definition of FU fund is kind of like emergency fund, but a little bit of a step up, because typically when you think about emergency fund is about like 3 months worth of money, but in today's job market, I don't think like 3 months would last, us, for that long, given that it takes about like what, like 6 to 12 months to actually find a new job. So the uh, so that's what you need to know. You need to know how much is your, like, 6 to 12 months of monthly expenses, to get to the FU fund. And then ultimately, once you know what your monthly expenses are, then you can get to the fire number, which is the minimum amount of money that you need to invest in the market in order for you to be able to retire. So a very easy calculation that you can use, is, uh, the annual the annual expenses divided by 4%. And, to your point, Daniel, like the 4% is basically an average amount of money that, people can typically safely, take out from their retirement fund, um, while still having a little bit, room to grow, and also like some inflation. But obviously, like for me, I am only 43, so I don't have that luxury. Yeah, I don't have that luxury of taking out my retirement fund, knowing that Uncle Sam is gonna be taking majority, like a lot of, good chunk of that. So what I did was I planned differently. Instead of like putting all my money in this like 401k at the time where I was, working in corporate, I actually separate like half of the fund, in my personal brokerage in, investment account. So that's, what I'm able to retire from corporate early. And thank you for asking.
Congratulations again, Miss Pam, and you did a good job. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. What what's your hierarchy of income streams, or how much active work do you still choose to do?
Oh wow. So active work as in like what I do for a living now, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I would say three stream of income right now. So one is, the main income stream is from Layoff Ready. So through this platform, I help, high achieving professionals prepare to layoff proof their life. To, when it comes to like your mindset, you need to like get ready and be prepared for it, because life or layoffs can happen. And also financially, on, like what, so like typically, there's a lot of resources talking about, oh, what to do after you quit your job or after you get laid off, but that's not so much on, talking about what to do to prepare. So, this is what I'm working on, and this is my mainstream of income, through teaching. And then the second stream is through, dividends and investment. So part time, I'm actually, more like a swing trader, but I think we all know, like in this in this today market, is a little bit making it a little bit hard for any day trader or swing trader. So this is what I'm trying to scale down a little bit there. And then I also get some dividend income through investments as well, which is really helpful in terms of helping me sustain part of my expenses. And then the last part, which I used to do back when I had a corporate job, was, so Daniel, let me tell you this. When I first started to make any like money online, I was like, I had no idea how to make like even $500 online. But and like, this is not just the problem that happened to me, but it actually happened to a lot of high achieving professionals that, if you ask them, hey, okay, if you got laid off tomorrow and say, you had no savings, zero saving, but you need to go out and make money today, within 7 days you need to make at least 500 to $1,000. Most people that I ask, they'll be like, and you know why? This is a trap. I would say this is like a trap, from the comforts, in this golden handcuff in working in corporate. Because you can be so good at whatever you do, whatever your job title is, saying to the world. But like for me, I was just like so dumbfounded to even make $500 to my name. So what I started to do, and what I realized though, was that it was all because you lack the confidence. So like, say for example, for me, when I was working in corporate, I could like close my eyes and just do what I did. um okay, a little bit exaggerate, but I did marketing. So I would say, okay, like I'm really good at that. I have that such conviction, such confidence that, okay, like if somebody throw any questions at me, I'm gonna be able to help solve that. And I think like this is so critical for every corporate professional to like really build the confidence muscle in making income outside 9 to 5. So for me, when I first started, I literally just asked my neighbor, because they were going away for a while, and I asked them like, hey, do you need somebody to like walk your dog? And that's like how I got my first $1,000. So
Awesome then. Awesome, Miss Pav. Empowering answer. And as a founder of Lay Approve Your Life, what are your short term and long term goals?
short term and long term goals. I would say, my mission, Daniel, is clear. I wanted to make sure that financial literacy, is I want to spread financial literacy among the corporate professionals as much as possible. And especially, I think, in this in these days and age, where layoffs and AIs are, we all know that they're going to be taking over our jobs. So my short term goal is just to help people prepare as much as possible in terms of the mindset and their finance, to be able to weather the storm, whether that be, layoffs or World War III, which who knows, maybe may not be coming. So that's more like a short term goal. Long term goals is, you know what? I haven't really thought about that, but what I know for sure is long term goal is I wanted to be able to like create like a more structure course that can actually like help scale. Because like right now my business is more like on a very niche base. It hasn't like reached to a mass audience yet, but then I think like in terms of the long term goal, I would like to expand this a little bit more into the mass to really help out anyone in need, and make the course free.
Good luck to your goals, Miss
Thank
Pav,
you.
and looking forward for more success. What would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh gosh. Okay, first of all, I don't think you want to be like me. I I I have been through um a lot, and I'm sure that everybody has their own story. But my advice, let's just say, like, for someone who maybe who's scared or feels stuck, or like secretly dreaming of having a different life, which I would say, like, pointing back to my old self, so I would say this: you're not behind. You are just waiting for uh I say permission that you don't need, permission to start over, permission to leave a toxic situation, toxic relationship, toxic job, permission to even, like, okay, ridiculously, like, permission to succeed, to grow, to do and be whatever your heart desire. I don't think that you don't need those permission. What you do need is you need to have a plan. You need to be strategic, because if you are staying in a job or in a relationship, in a situation that is dimming your light, this is like a slow motion way I say, like, a layoff from your own life, so I've been there, like, I've been broke, I've been divorced, I've been alone and burnout and depressed, and basically, like, just literally, Daniel, like, crying over overdraft fee, eating ramen noodle in my shoebox apartment in New York City. So the first step is what we talked about before, is like, you need to know your baseline. Build additional stream of income outside your job. It doesn't have to be like your passion project. It's just something that kind of you can get started and build that confidence. And I think, like, my last advice would be, like, stop watching rich talk. I don't know if because seriously, like, this is a form of escapism, right? And
Yes.
it's just making you feel worse. It might be entertaining at first, but, like, it's gonna make you feel worse at the end. And by the way, you can anybody can retire early. And you don't need millions of dollars to retire. It's a matter of planning, and also, I don't know if you heard about this, like, they call it lifestyle inflation. Doesn't really matter how much money you make. You could be making like 50,000 and still feel poor, 200,000 and feel poor, 500 and feel poor. It's all subjective about, like, the lifestyle that is inflating as you're making more money. So I think if we live a more sustainable lifestyle, the early retirement is definitely possible.
Yes, Miss Pab, I want to retire early.
No, we
and
need you on the show, Daniel.
no, while I'm retiring, still doing this show for sure because I have a day job that I'm maintaining too. So, Miss Pab, can you recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
So yeah, definitely the first one that I talk about, by the uh die hold on.
No
Ser-
worries. Go ahead.
die with zero. Yeah, die with zero. I read this book for so long, on a plane, by Bill Perkins. So, like, so I would say, like, this is epitome of, like, all the book. It's kind of like a wake up call, but kind of like sad in a way, because we all needed to be reminded that we need to be living our lives, right? So I think, like, Bill Perkins actually helped you know kind of portray this in a very interesting way, because, like, he noticed a pattern in successful people, that, like, in his wealthy friend, that they're dying with tens of millions of dollars and left unspent. Like, what's the point? So that's the whole entire point of like his notion that you need to like die with zero. And by the way, die with zero doesn't mean that die and not making any impact, or die without leaving anything to the world, but it's die with integrity and leaving amazing memories to your loved ones. And by the way, when we talk about inheritance, um people typically like leave inheritance to their kids after they die. Like, you don't have to. You can give them and cherish the moment together and share it together. So like I would say like that is very very yeah, like a great book.
Thank you for your recommendation, Miss Pa. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 on second season, and my food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 and fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Pab, what's your response to critics who say early retirement is only for the privileged? How does your system democratize autonomy?
Oh man. Okay. I totally disagree. I don't think that early retirement is privilege. I would say financial freedom is your birthright. We have been lied to for so long that you need to work until 65 and then you enjoy the life. And wish if you read this book by Bill Perkins, he has talked about this. So I don't think it's a privilege. It's all about planning. You can retire early if you make $100,000 a year. Some people that like are like some of my students that I talk to, they make like multiple six figures a year and still felt they could not retire. But part of this is, what we talk about is the lifestyle inflation. So I don't think that early retirement is a privilege or is impossible. It's all about planning and being strategic about how you spend. Either you earn more or you invest more. So it's definitely doable.
Miss Pav Lertjitbanjong, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And we are truly inspired to retire early. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or any projects that you're doing right now?
Yes. So, and thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing my website, layoffready.com. So I would encourage the listener to go to layoffready.com and get started on your journey. And you can do this. This is free. You can download the layoff proof your life emergency kit. This is basically a checklist on what to do, um, pre and post layoffs or quitting your job. So I would highly encourage that.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Pav Lertjitbanjong, because if you support her more and more and more, empowering people to come. So, Miss Pav, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's been an honor.
More to come, people. See you soon.